I want to keep doing the podcast because the podcast will be its own thing. I think what we're going to see in terms of the show is a transfer of a sensibility. There's the things that I'm interested in: comic books, video games, sex, God, comedy, all that sort of stuff is going to be represented on the show. The interview itself, I anticipate the show is going to have a large online presence, like Conan does, and we will, like The Daily Show does, overshoot our interviews and have them available online. We've already been doing that a little bit with remotes. So if we go a place that might not be hilarious, because we want the show to be 22, like kind of fast-paced minutes of comedy, if we go someplace that's not exactly funny but is very interesting, which I think the podcast often is, sometimes not so funny but interesting, we might just put that, we will put that online so people can enjoy it that way. But season 2, 4-hour blocks. That's what I want, absolutely. Yes, unless that was your question, in which case we're done. Yeah.
2 years ago you were writing 2 shows that got canceled.
Yeah.
Now you have a 2-story banner of yourself over here. It's got to be a little weird, right?
Yeah, no, I should send that to the networks that canceled those shows. It is weird going from Outsourced and I Hate My Teenage Daughter. Those were 2 kind of punchline shows. They were given a hard time. Sometimes people ask me what I learned from that experience. What I learned is it takes a room full of geniuses to write a show that no one likes. You know what I mean? Like some of the funniest people I've ever met and worked with were on those TV shows. Unfortunately, they didn't work. But I will say it does feel good to be here at Comic-Con, something I would have wanted to come to anyway, and have an absurd photo of me fucking the sky, hanging out in the lobby, or whatever you call that area. So it feels good with the answer. Can we get some more microphones up here? I'm not sure we're getting this. Yes?
Knowing your background as a live performer and as well as your podcast and whatnot, is there anything you've been wanting to do for a while that you didn't really have the opportunity to do until now?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like being the king of some sort of candy factory. When Oren, this is my executive producer Oren, and this is Nick, my other EP, when we have an idea, like we did Goodwill Batman, which was we put Batman in Goodwill Hunting, and I woke up one morning and thought of that, and back in the day, Oren and I have been working together for about 6 years. If we wanted to do that, it would have been like months and months process. So the answer to your question is now when we have an idea, we can kind of put it through a network, you know what I mean, with a pretty fair budget and get stuff made faster. So it's a wonderful opportunity to be able to make more of the things I'm thinking of and get that volume out there.
And on Goodwill Batman, he came up with the idea on a Wednesday, and the following Wednesday, I think we put it on air, online. And so that quick turnaround is something that we really appreciate. The fact that we can think of something, and we have the staff and resources to make it quicker and be a little bit more topical than we make it. We're still making Batman Begins sketches and stuff.
There's a lot funny about it. Yes, sir.
What's the writing process?
Right now, we have 4 writers. It's a small staff, and Oren and I are kind of writers as well, so that's 6. The name of the game right now is trying to teach people, as absurd as it sounds, you're trying to teach people how to write for you. Because I'm trying to make the show very, of course, similar to my sensibility, and these people came in from other writing jobs in other worlds, and you're trying to show them, oh, I would say this, or I wouldn't say this, or my Batman wouldn't say this, but my Batman would say that. You know what I mean? So you sound like a lunatic. You start referring to yourself in the third person, like Pete would never say that. That's too disparaging for Pete. So we're trying to teach people the tone, and to speak a little bit about the tone, I think people, it sounds like some of you are familiar with what we do. We're not boring, we have a little bit of an edge to us, but also at the same time it's very positive. There's a little bit of a happiness and a silliness to it. Like we were just on the floor here at Comic-Con, and I think the natural choice for a comedian is to kind of do nerd humor and be like, look at these idiots, do you have a girlfriend, what do you do, what do your parents think? And like just here today, the vibe of our show is like, this is the greatest, this is like we volunteered to do this. I feel like I know everybody because I see Deadpool. I don't know who it really is, but I'm excited to see Deadpool. And he's excited to see Superman and to do a photo together. And then you have like vaguely erotic women everywhere. It's really, we're not forcing it. I am a positive person. We're not going to be saccharine and stupid and false. We're going to be authentic and real and hopefully interesting, but it's going to be in that sort of Conan way, not at anyone's expense. We're not here to tell you how much the world sucks or how shitty things are. Even if you had mixed feelings about Affleck being Batman, we didn't like go after Affleck. We just put him in. We just put Batman in Goodwill Hunting. That's the sort of mentality we have. If you want someone to shit on Affleck, you can watch any other show.
Comedy's going to Lana's place too. That's what we're teaching the writers a lot.
Yeah, well that's also true. We have like a no lying rule. I don't lie in my stand-up. It's kind of weird. It's a little bit obsessive for me. I don't like saying, unless it's obvious. If it's obvious that I'm lying or just joking, I'll make that clear. But I've never told a story that didn't happen or just fabricated something that would be hilarious. And we're going to bring that, 2 words for the show are authentic and transparent. We want it to be real, and at the beginning when people are watching it, if we are just figuring it out and kind of flailing a little bit, we want you to see that. We want you to feel like you were involved in something that from its inception and have all of that be genuine. So when the writers are writing for me, the strangest answer to your question is they have to learn a lot about me, because that's what we're trying to teach them. And the audience. Yes?
You're sort of the latest podcasters that make the transition out of television to marketing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did you ever think that maybe a decade ago, before you had the podcast medium, how do you think you would have made it to this point? Do you ever think about what the road would have been for you?
That's a fantastic question. I think I'd just be selling goldfish in a bag at a carnival, you know what I mean? Like, it's a remarkable thing. What people respond to is intimacy and regularity. And podcasts are just the newest way to become a regular person in someone's life. When you're just a stand-up, you might show up, if you're a success, you might show up on TV 3 times, 4 times, you know what I mean? And that is not someone you can build this parasocial relationship with. It is one-sided, but it's a type of relationship. The reason people love Conan or Fallon or Kimmel, they show up in your life every day. The reason why people love Scott or Barron that you mentioned, because they show up in their lives 2-3 times a week. So if it hadn't been a podcast, and what my advice for comedians or any type of artist is you need to give them, you have to set a standard. This is how much I'm going to be in your life. And just like a romantic relationship, that helps it grow. Between an artist and his fans, you go, I'm going to be in your life Monday and Wednesday for as you mentioned, sometimes 4 hours, talking about weird mushroom trips. But whatever it is, it's intimacy. You get to know the people, and they learn about you, and it's regularity. So to be honest, if it hadn't been the podcast, it would have had to been something like that, like I don't know, door to door or vaudeville. Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. You've been waiting. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You're in my blind spot. That's the scoop. I'm blind in my left eye.
We're here at New York Comic Con. You don't want to get the nerd culture in it, but who is your target audience? Are you going to target like gamers and comic book nerds, or are you going to have like special guests that represent the community also and stuff like that?
He asked who the target audience is. Certainly a lot of the comic book, video game world, movie world is going to be hopefully fans of our show. But what's weird is I'm not really going for a specific demographic as much as I'm just trying to be myself. There's a great Bill Hicks quote. Bill Hicks says, no one can be you as well as you can be you. So if you're being yourself in whatever you're doing, you'll have supply and demand covered. So if I'm trying to like pander to somebody or try and like go after a certain market, we just did the hip hop awards for BET, and I went out there, and that's not my market. It's just like exciting to be a fish out of water and not really play necessarily to what people might expect. That being said, my interests will be represented, which are things like movies, video games, stuff like that, stuff that you've seen a little bit. So the target audience is people who are at least a little bit like me, or who are at least interested in looking at me.
We talk a lot about a playhouse environment. He says it all the time. That's what the show's going to be. So it's a very inviting place. I think we all have a similar sensibility. People who like the podcast, people who like Pete's comedy, the Batman stuff.
That's a really good answer. I think the target audience is people who don't want to watch something before they go to bed that's really cynical and ugly. Now, I'm not saying I don't have anything in mind when I say that. We're not raging against a specific machine. I just want a show that you can watch at night that leaves you with some sort of afterglow of, that was funny. I don't feel bad for laughing at it. I feel release. I feel better about myself. I feel better about the world. I know those are lofty claims, like our show will make your life better, but I think good comedy can make you feel better at the end of the day, or at least it should. Oh yeah, I jumped over you. I'll get to you. I'm sorry. We met on the way in. That's you.
First of all, I love the podcast.
Oh, thanks.
And you say it to people all the time. but you are the absolute best, and I'm so happy that you're getting this opportunity.
Oh, thanks, man. That's really nice.
And also in regards to the show, how often will Chelsea be on?
We just nailed, I can't really say that. Comic-Con exclusive, Chelsea will be on the show.
Yeah.
Chelsea also came with me to pick out outfits for the show, and we filmed that. That was for the pilot. That's something we'll use on the show. For those of you who probably might not know Chelsea, I'm such a friendly person. I'm such like a bubbly and effusive man.
Like say sorry, Chelsea Peretti.
Yes,
Chelsea Peretti.
yes, sorry.
But I like some of my friends. I kind of like that salty, sweet thing. So I'll be a sweetheart, and then I like having people on that like to break my balls and roast me and make fun of me, and people seem to enjoy that. So you have this kind of golden retriever of a man, and then you have Chelsea Peretti. It's fun. It's got that a different flavor to it. So not only Chelsea, but like Bill Burr, these people that really like giving me a hard time. Pretty much all my friends.
That is the goal of the show. Like we want funny friends to hang out with us.
Yeah, that's another thing. It's not going to be celebrity driven as much. I'm not supposed to talk about the guests, but I will say that nobody doing the show thus far is promoting anything. So people are coming on because they want to come and hang out, and because we want to tell a specific story, or we just want to bounce off each other. And I think that's going to be another reason why the show stands out. It's not celebrity driven, promotional stuff. The monologue isn't going to be set up, punchline, pulled from the news, sort of stuff that we've seen before. It's going to be more in line with my stand-up. It's going to be a lot more personal. It's going to be it could be about anything. I don't care about like a Vermont man found a dead beaver in his garbage disposal, and then I have a one-liner. That's fine, but there's plenty of shows you can watch that do that very well. I would rather do a monologue about how I don't want to be a sad dad, or I don't know. Edible arrangements, or binging on Oreos in my hotel room, which I did last night. You don't give me a minibar and alcohol. Yes.
What's up?
I forgot you. It's HHG.
Hip Hop Gamer.
Hip Hop Gamer.
Yeah.
Know the name. Yes, sir.
So, like, first of all, congratulations and God bless. And I
Thanks,
love
man.
seeing you successful. That's crazy. The question I got asked for you is, what was your inspiration that made you want to be a comedian in the first place? Because I think those are the moments where God touched you. Be like, hey, look, this is what we're doing. Make me laugh later. You know what I'm saying? So, like, what was that? What was the inspiration?
You know what's silly? This is going to be a sentimental answer, but I'm kind of a sentimental guy. First of all, I loved Kick-Ass 2. We saw it together. I don't know what people's problem was. I didn't read the comic. Maybe it betrayed it in some way. It was
Darker.
fine. It was true to the comic. I loved it. I really enjoyed it. And there was a line that is it Riot Girl?
Hit Girl.
Hit Girl, sorry. Hit Girl says to Kick-Ass at the end, he says, take pain and make something good. Or take fear and make something good. And I get really worked up when I talk about comedy. I think that's what comedy is often you have situations. I was just doing an interview talking about were you the funny kid growing up, and I wasn't. I think a good comedian was probably bullied a little bit, probably felt doughy and oblong and rondish-shaped and strange and a little bit of an outsider, and then learned the healing quality of comedy. And that's why I really believe in it. I believe that it has a ministering quality, not in a religious way, just in a way that it has made my life better. So that coupled with an over-loving mother and a distant father, and then being teased just enough, and then an obsession with Bill Cosby and Steve Martin and all these guys.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's crazy right there, son.
And then just enough dysfunction and enough ambition, and then you too can be a weird comedian.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, man. Thank you. Yes.